Hello, hello, and welcome back to R&D with KD. I'm your host, Kalhiel Dillard. Today, I'm joined by Justin Yurong. Justin is a real estate investor, content creator, and entrepreneur. I'm a former athlete, small business owner, and serial entrepreneur. The goal of the podcast is to inform and inspire entrepreneurs who are looking to get started but don't know how. Each week, I am going to highlight ordinary people in our communities who do extraordinary things. Before we jump in, a little bit about Justin. I've known Justin and followed his journey for about the past 2 or maybe 3 years now. We actually went to college together at Fresno State. We weren't connected at Fresno State as much as we would become connected. Honestly, after his journey of content creation and real estate, it really inspired me to go off on my own path and really break down my own fears, overcoming, being on camera, telling my own story to people. And Justin was one of the first people, actually. He probably doesn't know this, but that has allowed me to really take this next step in my aspirations of creating more content and building community. So for that, Justin, you are appreciated. I want you to know how much I value you as a friend, entrepreneur, and content creator. So thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, dude, that means a lot. Thanks for having me. I actually didn't know that. So that actually means a lot to me that I could even inspire you to kind of start something like this. And it's going to change your life, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Definitely inspired me. I remember the very first DMs I sent to him. I'm just asking him questions like, what camera are you doing? Like, what, just little questions. But now we're here sitting at the table together. You know, he's on my podcast as a guest, and it's a really powerful moment seeing two young guys who are trying to accomplish their goals and dreams really, you know, have a moment like this to where it's all coming to fruition. So this is really exciting for me to have you on here, man.
Cool. I'm excited to be on.
Great. So just a little transition. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what you're currently doing now and your journey and role as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so right now, I'm mainly real estate investing, flipping houses. Sometimes wholesaling, but I'm mainly buying houses in Fresno, California, flipping them, and then selling them for a profit. I'm doing this all virtual, too. So, like, I live in Las Vegas. I flip here in Fresno, California. Currently, I have 4 active flips going on. And on the side, where this is actually kind of becoming my main thing, is the content. So I'm creating content, YouTube videos, Reels, TikTok, stuff like that, to kind of teach people how to do it. So I'm by no means an expert. I've done like thousands of deals, but enough to teach the person to go from 0 to 10. Mm-hmm. And that's like pretty much all my content. That's what it's all about, essentially, teaching the new person how to do what I'm doing. And so far, like, I'm trying to transition that to essentially become more of my full-time thing, because it's a lot more stable, and it's I think the potential is a lot bigger as far as like profits, lifestyle. Flipping can be a stressful game. So that's what I'm doing currently, and that's about it.
How'd you get into real estate investing? Was it something that you were always passionate about, or what was your start into real estate?
Yeah, no, I wasn't passionate about it at all. Like, I didn't even think I was going to end up in real estate, man. I started, it was probably senior year of college when we went to college together. And senior year, I was a finance major. I had some money saved up in the stock market, and I was like, you know what? I think this is enough to buy a house. So I was just kind of getting curious. I'm like, what could I do to invest my money that's different or better than just these, like, investing in the S&P 500 stock? And essentially, I was like, okay, like, maybe I could buy a house or a rental. I started researching online, came across something called Bigger Pockets, where I listened to all these podcasts of like ordinary people doing this. And I was like, I could do this. And from there, I was like, I think I can do it. I saw the power behind it as far as like building wealth. I reached out to an agent from Bigger Pockets. We sat down for coffee. And from there, like, he kind of guided me to buy my first rental. So I bought the first rental at 21. And after that, I was out of money. I was like, I used all my money for the down payment, stuff like that. And I was like, all right, well, what do I do now? And after that, I was starting slowly to learn, okay, like flipping, because then you can like generate income fast. Then I learned wholesaling, and then I learned flipping without my own money. And then I was like, okay, like now I get it. So it started real small with a rental, and then you just kind of like, I ran into problems and like, hey, I don't like how this is. But that was the start, man. It just kind of came from curiosity. It wasn't a passion. Now it kind of is, man. Like it's cool being able to fix up neighborhoods, giving people nice places to live. And then making a living on this at the same time.
What do you think you were going to end up doing after college?
I thought I was going to be like a wealth management person, you know, finance major or financial advisor. And then the more I learned about that, I was like, I don't really like it.
So did you have any mentors like during your process on your first flip? Like, was there anybody there to help you out? Like, how'd you kind of navigate your first one?
Yeah. So for the first rental, there wasn't a mentor on the rental besides the people of Bigger Pockets, who I would literally go to the forums and ask like, hey, like, I have this issue, like who can help me? And then people from all over the country are like, hey, try this. So those were my mentors. So that was for the rental. The second mentor I had, he was a true mentor, like with the flipping. I actually worked for him first. I did maybe like 6 flips with him. I would like find the deals, negotiate them, like do all the work. He just brought the money. And I got like a small share of the profit essentially, but essentially I learned everything from that guy. And after that, like I was like, after 6 flips or so, 6 months, I was like, I think I can do this on my own. Went to do it on my own, and I was like, this is way harder than I thought, to do it on your own.
How was that first one for you?
The first one, doing it was easy, but finding it was way harder. Because like when I was working with that first mentor, like he provided all the data, the people to call, like the targeted list, and he kind of like guided that. So finding the deal was harder. But once I was doing the flip, I was like, oh, this is the same thing I was doing for him. So then it was smooth. But without that guy, like his name's Terrence Frazier. So
oh, okay, I know T. Frazier.
Yeah, so he helped me a ton. And then now my current mentor is Ryan Pineda. He's been helping me a lot.
Yep.
So yeah, you go through different stages of like people you're trying to like aspire to be or like take things and learn from them.
How's your experience been working with Ryan Pineda? Because we in the real estate world, Ryan's pretty big up there.
Yeah.
So
no, it's been great, man. Like he's a good guy. He knows a lot. He teaches well, and like I wouldn't have grown as fast this year without him for sure. Like especially the content. Like he's helped me a lot with the content. Because you kind of like model a lot of the similar, like we have kind of similar content, to be honest, we're used to. But it's been great, man. It's been a real good experience. I'm actually a big part of their, I guess their coaching thing now, like for Future Flipper. Like I'm gonna start doing their like Q&A calls, like coaching, as well as like I'm already creating content for them. It's essentially my YouTube videos teaching real estate, but for them too.
That's huge, man. That's huge. Just knowing how big that platform is and knowing you are running that. That's exciting stuff, man. Really excited for you. So tell us a little bit about where you're from. Are you from Fresno here locally? Yeah,
born and raised Fresno, man. I only moved to Vegas like 2 years ago or less, and born and raised Fresno or Clovis, and yeah, that was my start.
Now, how is it running these businesses basically virtually? As a young adult, you're living in Vegas, you're investing here in Fresno. How do you manage your investments, but also your time in Vegas?
Yeah, so I was actually kind of scared about that at first. I never planned to do this whole thing virtually. Like I was already doing the flipping, rental stuff while I was living in Fresno in the same town. And then I made the move. And I only moved so I could be close to my little baby niece. She was just born. And when I moved, I was like, okay, like, do I get a job in Vegas? Do I flip in Vegas? Do I still flip in Fresno? So like, those are my 3 options. And I was like, as I was still applying to jobs because I was like, I don't know what to do. New city, do everything. And I was like, as I was getting closer to accepting jobs, I was like, no, let me just keep running my business. Let me keep trying virtual. And I was looking for a deal. I ended up finding my first virtual deal from Tinder.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell more about that.
Dive into that.
But I found that, and I was like, well, I guess I'm flipping virtual now. and then I kind of figured it out from there.
So did you sell the girl, or I don't know what it was, but did you buy her house? Did she in distress?
No. So how it worked was, before I made the move to Vegas, I was in Fresno. I opened Tinder because I was single at the time, and I was like, never used the app. So I was like, oh, just swiping in Fresno's. I was like kind of getting familiar with the app. And then I just like didn't never use it again until I went to Vegas. So then I opened it back up and I was like, oh, like I got matches. And then I went to some people and I was like, oh, like, no, actually, no, this girl particular, she's like, hey, you don't even live here now. And I was like, oh yeah, I actually moved to Vegas. And she's like, bummer. And then she said, actually, do you buy real estate? Because she saw my Instagram. It was connected to the Tinder profile. And I was like, yeah, do you got a house to sell? And she's like, actually, I'm a new wholesaler. I have a new deal under contract. And I was like, can you send me the details? And I was like, yeah. And then she sent it. I was like, oh, this is a deal. And I was not the highest offer, but my pitch was essentially like long-term business relationship. And I think the attraction helps in general. But but I got the deal, and I was like, wow, that was the first virtual deal.
Really, that's awesome.
And yeah, it worked out well. Like I sold it a couple months ago, I think.
So how do you navigate your real estate investing virtually? Like, do you have a team here in Fresno? Like, how did you build out that team to where you can still properly manage? I run a party rental business virtually or halfway remote, and it's hectic for me at times to navigate that. So how do you do that with something much bigger like real estate?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is like, there's really like one key person, I guess two. The one key person I needed, well, I guess three. There's the project manager, the person who's actually managing the rehab, and not the contractors. Like, so I have one, the general contractor who's actually fixing up, and I have different general contractors. I have to have someone I can really trust, who can communicate well, and who's really good at communication, because they're not even communicating with me; they're communicating with my project manager. So the GC, general contractor, the project manager, the guy or the girl who essentially is just babysitting the contractor and making sure like they're stopping by the property, like multiple times a week, checking in on them, like asking them, hey, how are things going? Why is this not done? Doing all the things that I was doing in town when I was project managing myself. But as I made the move to Vegas, I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. I'm not going to fly every single week. And then a boots on the ground for when I'm finding deals. I need someone that I can trust to get eyes on the property. And that's it. So those three people, the GC, project manager, boots on the ground. And those are the three people that allowed this to happen.
So moving forward from that, what has changed fundamentally about your work from when you first started to now?
Well, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing. Now I know what I'm doing, and now I'm actually, the big thing that's new is all my deals are now raised, or I'm buying all my deals without any of my own money now. So they're all privately funded by, friends, family, people who don't know me, like even strangers from Instagram who are like signing up to like, hey, like, can I send you the money? I'm like, you haven't Zoom called with me yet. Like you haven't talked to me yet. But it's like, those are the things that happen when you build the brand on social media, is like people will trust you, and you have to treat it really carefully. You can't screw anyone. You got to like keep your reputation.
How long have you been building your brand for?
1.5 to 2 years. Yeah. So I started YouTube maybe 1.5 or 2 years ago.
And where are you at from where you started to now? Like, what's the growth been like?
Growth in terms of followers, not as crazy as you might think, but growth in benefits is crazy. Like, social media alone's made me over 100K just this past 1.5 years. And that's from deals, affiliates, and mainly that, like deals and affiliates. It's also helped me raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars in private money that I know I would not have been able to do as easily if I was not posting. Because people are like messaging me like, hey, like you're so consistent. Like I know what you're talking about. Like, can I invest with you? Like that. Those are the DMs I get now. I'm like, oh wow, like you don't even know me, but they do. So in terms of benefits, like it's been huge, man. But as far as following, not massive. It's not like it blows up.
So what? You've been making content for about, you said 2 years now, a little bit under 2 years. What inspired you to start making content? Was there a fear prior to you first starting that you had to overcome to say, you know what, I'm just going to allot some time into making this content? Or did you have imposter syndrome at a time? Like, what were you feeling the moment you decided that you were going to go all in on content creation?
Yeah, I think the moment I decided to go in, I never felt the imposter syndrome because I knew who I wanted to help. I wanted to help the new person, and I knew I could help them. I'm not trying to go on social media saying like, hey, I can get you to 1,000 deals. I don't know how to do that. Like, I haven't done it. But I like can fully confidently go to social media and be like, hey, here's what I did. And it's kind of changing the talk. Like on social media, a lot of people, as they talk, you hear them. So like, here's what you should do. Yep. Like, here, you have to do this. It's like, oh, you jerk. Like, no, like, here's what I did. It might work for you. If not, cool. If it does, even better. And so like, you just trying to change that approach with social media, and then like, you'll never have the imposter syndrome. But at the beginning, I think I went through like the fear already. Like maybe I was 18 at the time, and I had wanted to make a fitness YouTube channel, but I never did because I was like, I don't think I'm ready to talk about that stuff. But when I started real estate and started like making money in real estate, I was like, I think I could teach this stuff, and it's actually enjoyable to teach it. And people were already asking me a lot of questions anyway, so I was like, let me just put it in a video and give it to you so that I don't have to keep telling everyone. And that was also a reason too, is like efficiency.
Absolutely. Have you faced any adversity that's led you to where you are today, whether that be in your life, career? Like, what's something that you would attribute some of your success at an early age to?
Yeah, I'm due a ton of adversity, and it's always like it's always ups and downs as an entrepreneur. Like sometimes you get fearful of running out of money. Like that's a big one too, especially with house flipping. Like because this is what not a lot of people talk about, honestly, on social media. But with flipping houses, it's great income, but the cash flow in terms of like when cash comes in is horrible. You know, like your money is out. If it's your own money, it could be out for like 6 months, 9 months, a year. And you're putting all this work, spending all this money, not getting any money back. And then you get in these tight crunches where you're like, oh crap, like how am I going to do this? And like, they're very stressful times. But as terms of adversity, like I get them too often, but it's really what makes you grow.
Absolutely.
And I just call it growing pains.
How do you navigate those growing pains?
Honestly, what I tell people, what I kind of do myself is whenever you hit the adversity, whatever issue you're having, it's like, yeah, you might take a minute to like freak out, but then you kind of calm yourself and you're like, okay, like what can I do now? Like what can I do now? Like there has to be something. And if you just kind of have that mindset, you're going to be okay.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of times, even in my real estate career or even in life, I've been faced with some moments where I get these moments of anxiety and I just have to calm myself down and like breathe it out and then say, okay, we're here. It's not going away. What can I control to just move forward from the situation? But that's definitely good. What's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing within your role or business now?
I think my biggest challenge right now, I mean, there's a lot of challenges. One of the biggest is growing the social media. So it's trying to appeal to virality now. Like most of my content, we call it evergreen content, which is the very educational stuff where someone can search on YouTube forever and it still applies. Now it's the struggle of creating like viral type content where like I just want to like get the eyeballs, the attention, so that people can like get the attention to my page and then like, oh, like what's this stuff? What's this real estate stuff? So that's a hard part. Another hard part is, I guess, managing the money and multiple projects at once. Like I've never had 4 deals at once. So this is a big thing for me, and they're all virtual too, like you said. And so it's getting to the point to where like I'm struggling with organization a little bit, not badly, but to the point where like people will, project manager, someone messaged me, I'm like, what house is that? Like what do I owe you? Like I'm just constantly sending money out. I'm like, what's this? You know, it's a tough thing.
I can definitely relate because even with me and my other business that I run, a lot of the times I feel like it's money going out, not money coming in.
Right.
And so just managing the way I feel as an entrepreneur, you know, when you're putting content out there and things look great and you're doing it for a community and whatnot, but a lot of the times entrepreneurs don't get to really talk about, you know, some of the struggles or feelings of anxiety that they feel during those moments. So I've known, you know, being able to reach out to you when I'm thinking about content creation. Might not have been doing it, but just thinking about it, I'm like, okay, he's been through some of the same things that I might be experiencing. So let me use him as a resource. Do you get many, especially here locally in Fresno, do you get many people who are new into real estate or wanting to get started that reach out to you? And how do you provide resources, or do you provide resources to them, you know, whether that be social media, mentorship and whatnot?
Yeah, no, so I get a lot, and I can't help every single person individually. It's hard. That's literally why I created YouTube. But I guess how I deal with it is when someone has a very specific question because they're taking the action, I'll be very likely to reply to that. Like if they're like, hey, like I'm on this deal, this is the situation, I'll probably reply to that because it's like, okay, you're taking action. Like I like that. Other than like, hey, can I pick your brain? Like I don't answer those. Or I'll just say like, hey, if you want help, like here's my YouTube channel. I have literally everything in my mind right there. For you. So that's kind of how I approach it. Now
you have access to a lot of good professionals. Like, talk to me about some of the ways you network to be able to gain access to them. Like, what are your experiences with Future Flipper, and how'd you get started with that network or organization there? Yeah,
I actually started. So I'm still a student at Future Flipper, and that's how I started. Maybe over a year ago now. I signed up as a student for their program just because I was like, I need to scale this. I need to figure out a scale. And it turns out like it's not even exactly what I want now. Like what I want now is scale the the social media, and then just have the real estate as a side, and eventually have more rentals. I don't really want to flip forever. Flipping's not as fun, and I'd rather have my income come from social. So I started as a student, future flipper. And then from there, like, I guess I started to do better in terms of real estate, started to do better in terms of content. And over time, I think the community, it just kind of happened from these like mastermind events every single quarter we'd go to, talk to all these like high level real estate investors from across the country. And you build good network. And every time you struggle with an issue, you're like, oh, like, I remember this guy told me he was talking about this. And I was like, hey, like, what did you say again? You know, like, whatever it is. And everyone's just super helpful. And honestly, it's kind of being willing to not just pay, but being willing to get into the places where high level entrepreneurs will be. Like, that's the thing. It's like, if you want to talk to millionaires, it's like, well, where do millionaires hang out?
Absolutely.
And so that's really how you have to think if you want to network with them. But you also have to be at the level where you're doing stuff, not like doing a lot, but like where you're taking action. Because if you're not taking action, not a lot of people will take you seriously at the higher levels. Like, even if it's like action and you're failing, like, that's way better than doing nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's one piece of critical advice that has been given to you recently that you can remember?
I mean, a recent thing was analyzing these like luxury flips. So it was just like, I reached out to a buddy in Future Flipper who does luxury in LA. I'm like, hey, like, I don't know how to analyze these luxury. Like, I don't even know what these rehabs are. These are so different. So he shared his calculator with me. He's like, here's what we input. Here's how simple it is. And he also shared with me like how he's efficient in making MLS offers. Because I also came to him with the struggle of like, I was like, hey, like, I'm being like I have 3 MLS agents. So they're all making offers on the MLS for me. And I went to them. Or no, I didn't go to them, but I was starting to think like, man, this is not very efficient. Like, they're taking a long time doing it, but I don't think it's because they're slow. Like, I think it's like they need practice, yeah, but I think there's a better way. And so I went to another guy who's efficient at that, who's crushing it on the MLS in LA. And I was like, how are you guys making offers? Like, what's your exact process? And he walked through the exact process. And then in that, I was like, oh, like, I'm spending too much time with this. So like, I just told my MLS agents, like, don't do this anymore. Like, we're going to do this instead. And so like, it's little things like that to make things faster, more efficient, which leads to more deals, more money.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Now let's transition here for a bit. Now, your role as an entrepreneur, it's steadily increasing. How do you stay mentally grounded so you're prepared and ready so that you're prepared to do your role? Like, how do you come to the office every day ready, willing to work? Do you work out, meditate? What's that look like for you?
I do exercise a lot, but I don't think that's what keeps me grounded. Because, you know, there's times where I don't work out, you know, I'm just focused on work. I think what keeps me grounded is that I enjoy the journey process. And I think if it's something that you're not enjoying, you're not going to stick with it. Even the stress, like, I know that you have stressful times, really hard times, and those aren't as enjoyable. But if you enjoy the process of getting better and better every single day and whatever it is, like, you're going to stick with it. And I think that's, I just like, I love when I suck at something and then I get better at it. Like, it's probably the coolest feeling. Like, even if you start like play an instrument, you're like, oh, I'm horrible at this. And then you slowly get better. Then you're like, oh, I got it. I got a tune. I got a sound. Like, I love that process. So I think that's what kind of keeps me grounded. Do
you have to take a step back to kind of recognize the growth that you've experienced, or do you kind of know that it's coming naturally? Because I know for me, I can get caught up in some of the things that I'm doing, and I don't really recognize all the things that I've accomplished to get here. It takes me a minute to reflect on that, you know. So what's that reflection look like for you?
I'll be honest, I don't really reflect on it, and until you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I have done good stuff. I think it's also a struggle of mine then. It's like you're always looking at how to be better, how to do more. And sometimes for us, even me, it's really hard to kind of always like come back to earth and like, oh, like, here's how far I've come. So I'm not the best at it either, but honestly, like, I enjoy the chase.
Exactly. Yeah. Where do you see your journey headed or going? You know, we're both in a very, I like to think I'm in the very beginning stages of my entrepreneurship journey. As long as, if I can hit 60 and still be an entrepreneur, I'm doing something good. Right. But, you know, where do you see your journey headed? Like, yourself going in your journey, creating a bunch of content, you know, where do you want it to go?
I want to be very, like, a big player in the real estate space online, and real estate might change as far as social media. Like, I might start talking about something else, but I just want to be a big I want to be a big influencer because I want whatever ideas I have, whatever things that I can say to help people, I want it to be known. I want that out there. Because that's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's hearing the feedback from all the people, especially in person. It's crazy. Like who watch my content. There's constant, like not only are there constant DMs where they're like, hey, like, can you help me? There's also constant DMs where like long messages of like, hey, like I've watched your videos for a year. Like you've helped me so much. I got my first deal. I made 20K and like, thank you. So like those kind of messages. And if I could scale that part, I'd feel really good, and I know it would pay too. So it's kind of a win-win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know for me, just being here and sharing this moment for you, we've messaged about some real estate deals and content creation before. And so, dude, honestly, you were one of those people, along with my buddy Frank Delana, who runs his own podcast as well, who have always told me ever since when I told you I wanted to wholesale, I remember for like 3 months straight, you were asking me, hey man, have you started working on this? Have you acquired your first deal? And that's exactly why I wanted you on the pod, because you and I, we don't even know each other that well, but the accountability that you placed on me in that moment helped, get me to where I am at today. Even if I didn't start it, if I would have never had, Justin's voice in my head, I need to get started on looking for my first wholesale deal, I would have never found the courage to move forward and continuously prosper. So I really appreciate you for being transparent and open with me, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, because I don't think there's a lot of that, especially in our area where people are connecting and forming these relationships that really, grow to be something more.
Yeah, I forgot I even did that. Yeah, I think the thing that people need to realize is that, there's enough on the table for everyone.
Exactly.
And I like seeing people win. So it's good to check up on people.
Can you share an element of how you were raised that has impacted your life today?
So my parents just have raised me as really like their main thing would just be a good person, be very kind, be nice to people. And honestly, I've seen how much that's affected my business. Like if you just do good to others, it does come back. And I've seen bad business a lot in realtor side, in investment side, very sketchy stuff, like the opposite of what my parents taught me. And so I think that had a big impact as far as like, if you want to do good in business, you can probably succeed being sketchy, but like you will succeed much, much more if you are like honest and true to your word. And that was another thing my parents taught me is like, do what you say you're going to do. And that's a huge thing in business too. If like you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, like it reflects on you poorly. So those are the two main things. Just be kind to people and then do what you say. Like those are probably the most simple things, but they've impacted my business the most. Has
being kind, not negative, has being kind reversely impacted your business? Have you had an experience where people have taken your kindness for granted and tried to manipulate that in a business sense, or have you always tend to work with people who share the same goals and values as you?
I wouldn't say so. It's because I feel like I'm kind. You have to be kind and willing to like be kind just to be kind and not expect anything back. And so it's hard to feel manipulated if you just give. And there's the first deal, actually, the first flip I ever got. I got the deal. Really, like we were almost going to lose the deal, but when I went to the seller's house, they had like 16 puppies. There were two older gentlemen as a couple, and I remember seeing all those puppies, and they were like tight on money. That's why they needed to sell fast. They're distressed for taxes. And I went to them, had a good appointment. I went to Target, got some dog food, brought it back to them, gave it to them. They're super appreciative of that because they couldn't even take care of the dogs. Oh. And from there, like the next day, they're like, all right, we're going to accept. Like, and that was just because I was like, oh, like you guys, like they were milk feeding the dogs. And that ended up in getting a deal. And I was like, wow, like kindness does work, So I've seen instances of that all over. And that's kind of, if I had one message to share, it's that.
That's awesome. So now continuing on, just speaking on some of the content that you're creating, how do you create content, mass content, the way you produce it? Can you walk us through your creative process? How about that? Let's go that way.
It's actually changing a lot right now. So before I would maybe like script a YouTube video, film it, or script 2, film it, and then film shorts from that. But now I was talking with another big creator friend of mine from Future Flipper again. We constantly have these weekly calls, like helping each other grow on social. He's already big. He has like 500K like YouTube subscribers, so he's already pretty big. But he's trying to transition to real estate, and talking to him, like I'm trying to become more efficient in my creative process. And so we talked it through, and then now I'm trying to implement like more planning, because that's where the efficiency comes from, as far as like just like planning all, not even like word for word, but like planning in general, like maybe 20 reels at once, 20 YouTube videos, and then just film, like go all in, so that you can kind of get in the zone. Because what I realized is my process before, like script, film, it got me, like, it was very broken up, and I never got in the zone. And so I do notice now that as I film more, like at the same time, like I can kind of get in the zone and just film away. Like my personality can come out. I can, like, it's a different type of film or recording session, I would say. So that's my process now, is plan a lot more in terms of like what are the main ideas, the bullets, and then film, and then just on to the next one.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice for new content creators? People who are just getting started out creating content. What piece of advice do you wish was shared with you when you were first getting started?
When I was first getting started, the one thing that I failed to do at the beginning was focus on quality. I focused hard on quantity, which helped me get to where I'm at today. But I thought quantity could get me there alone, but it's not. Like, it's very competitive now online, and if you want to succeed, you have to focus on like getting either watch time or like likes or view, whatever it is. So quality, but it's also like how you have to post a lot and consistently. And so consistency is the big thing. That's what I was good at. I still am. But now I've been slowly trying to improve the quality of my content, like have better hooks for the retention, have like more concise messages, have better call to action so you can monetize it better. Like, quality is everything. But at first I just focused quantity. So that was the big thing that I failed to do.
What's a myth that's common within the real estate industry, whether that's when you create content, that you think is commonly held between the majority of people, that you found just not to be true? Like something that the majority of real estate investors think is a myth, but it's really not true.
I think most real estate investors think you can't flip houses or buy houses without any of your own money. And it was something that I never fully believed until I started doing it. And I was like, oh, I get it. And then once I started doing it, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, it's also a lot of trust you have to build, a lot of reputation, and you have to deliver, because otherwise, like, you're not gonna feel very good. But that's probably the biggest thing that, if we're talking to the ordinary person who's not in real estate, like, hey, I'm gonna flip houses. Like, do you have any money? Like, that's the first thought, and it's just not true. You don't need any of your own money. You have to be able to sell yourself. You have to also be trustworthy, and you have to get people to trust you. That's it.
Can you walk us through the deal where you put no money in?
Yeah. So let me see. What's a recent deal? Okay. So like sometimes I'll raise money, which is like from one person. Sometimes I'll raise it from multiple people. I'll explain a deal where I raise from multiple people. This is a recent deal of mine. I just closed it like a couple days ago.
Here in Fresno?
Yeah, it's in Fresno. And found this from the MLS, from one of my realtors. And he sent it to me. We got the deal. Now, we already sent the offer. They already accepted the offer. I didn't have the money in the bank to buy the house, because like all my money is out, and also it's reserved for other projects. And so I had to raise money for this one. And so all I did is I posted it on Instagram stories. I made a video and a text. And I was like, hey, who wants to invest? DM me the word invest. People DM me. I talk to them, call them. And over time, like, I was realizing that at the beginning I was open to like more profit shares and like 50-50 splits. Now not as much so, because I have much bigger of a reputation and people like trust me a lot more. So there's more options. And so for this one, like a lot of people wanted to like fund the deal, like bring all the money to the table, but they wanted a profit split. And I had to tell them, like, let me like put that like as in my back pocket just in case. So I was looking for other people who wanted to maybe lend just for interest, so I can give them an interest rate annually. And there weren't a lot of people who were ready to lend the whole thing for an interest rate, but there are a lot of people who were ready to lend like partial amounts. And so I actually raised money from 4 different people. 3 of them were people I know. One was a complete stranger from Instagram. And essentially all I did is I went on Zooms with all of them. I told them about the deal. I told them about their interest rate return that they'd get. I told them how the process exactly kind of worked because, they're curious. And I essentially told them how they're going to get their money back and how they're protected. Once I did that, they essentially just sent me their own portions of their whatever they owed. And I used the money to buy the deal. And then I have extra money from them to fund the rehab. So it's as simple as that. Like, you just have to ask, and you would be shocked at who has money. Boom. Like, you will be so shocked because you ask people who you think have money. Like, I ask all the dentist, the doctor, whoever they are. I'm like, oh, like, you guys don't want to. Okay, and then you ask all the people who you not expect, and you're like, oh, okay, like you have $300K. Okay, let's invest that if you want. And you have to you just have to be really honest with them. Like, you have to ask them what they want. Like, if they're looking for a stable return, like, you can give them that. If they want a profit split, you can give them that. At the beginning, it's good to not be greedy at the beginning because you just want to get the deal done. But a lot of people are like, oh, I can get this in crypto, or I can get this in the stock market. And then you kind of weigh the options with them. You say, okay, maybe that is a better option for you. Because you can't, like, you can sell well, but you shouldn't try to just, like, take everyone's money. It has to make sense for both of you guys.
Are you getting into any other aspects of real estate besides the flipping, wholesaling? Like, are you currently interested in Airbnbs or, Turo? What's your entrepreneurial journey looking like now?
Right now, I mean, it's just flipping and wholesaling. I had one rental, I sold it. Eventually the long-term play is going to be all the rentals, whether it's single family, multifamily, or like big commercial. But that's the long-term play. I eventually would like to stop the flipping as much as I can. And the biggest play is I'm really going all in on social. Like, that's where essentially all my focus is. In the past, I've gotten so distracted from doing multiple things at once. Like, when I was starting my entrepreneurial journey, I was a personal trainer, I was a real estate agent, I was a real estate investor, and I worked at a bank. Like, I was so spread out. And as soon as I focused hard on the real estate investing, that's when it blew up. And so I'm going to do the same thing on social media. Like, I'm just going to focus hard on that, keep the real estate going, but just focus on social. And then everything, like, have you ever read the book One Thing? One Thing? Yeah, they essentially talk about, like, if you could do the one thing that could make every aspect of your life easier, like, do that. And so social, for me, that's it for me. And I know that because most of my, actually, I think about 30-40% of my deals come from social media. I raise private money, I get affiliate income, and I'm building a brand that leads to everything. So, like, that's the one thing that I want to focus on. And that's why I encourage you to, like, do this podcast stuff, because it's huge, man.
Speaking on the one thing, when you first started out, a lot of people think that making content is expensive, or it can be, of course. But when you first started off, what did content creation look like for you?
When I first started, I did buy a camera, but it was like $600. So I bought a camera, and that's about it. I had a camera. I literally put it on like a books or something, and I recorded myself, and that's it. No mic, no nothing. And then all my TikToks were just from my phone. So I technically didn't need it. And it's funny. My most viral videos I made, like 6 million views, 4 million views, they were filmed on the phone. And I was like, filmed on and they're filmed in like 6 seconds. And I was like, that was it. And all these other videos where I put so much work in, I'm like, but then you just don't know what can happen. So, like, I would say just have fun with it and be consistent now.
Are you having fun with it now? Are you having more fun with it now than when you first started?
Yeah. And it becomes more fun, I think, when you get better at stuff. Like, as soon as it clicks and you're like, oh, I'm better at this. It's like if you're playing a sport and you're competing against someone and you suck at first, you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. And then you get better and then you can beat other people. It feels just like that for social media. It's like, now I'm competing with other people. Like, people are fighting for attention on my video versus his video. And it's fun. So
how do you stay motivated? Like, is it the game of just getting better for you personally? Like, what continues to drive you and motivate you?
It's a good question. I don't think I have a motivator. I think I just do it because I want to do it.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. And, it's really beautiful.
I think a lot of people need, I guess, reasons to do something. Like, you do it for family, you do it for anything. But it's a selfish thing for me. Like, I just want to do it. Like and if I didn't want to do it, I'd stop. Like that's
absolutely.
it.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of people, the things that they do, they don't have the ability not to do it.
Yes,
to change your life.
I actually, that's very powerful because I remember I used to work, at a bank full time, and I didn't really like it, but I still did it just for the income. And it's actually, when you talked about earlier, like reflecting back, that's actually a really good feeling knowing that what I do now is just because I want to do it. So I think everyone could shoot for that and they'd be a lot happier.
Do you have a why? Like a reason why?
Not other than just, no, like other than just supporting myself and being able to live and, survive.
Live in Vegas, work here remotely. It's nice, huh?
Other than that right now, otherwise it's just, I want to have a good life on the road. I want the nicer things. I want it easy. I want to live easier. Like I want certain things that like I wouldn't have to take care of anymore. The things that bother me, like errands or cooking, like I would like to buy my time back.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
And I've learned a lot from watching Pineda's videos of how much time I didn't really value my time until I really sat down and was like, shoot, I can have so much more time, which would make me so much more money if I, allowed somebody else to do this, and that. And then I started to separate myself, got an assistant, got people to work my other businesses for me, and then realized like I'm running on another level when other people are doing things for me.
Exactly.
So, but how was that experience of letting go of some of those responsibilities impacted you as an entrepreneur?
It's been everything, man. Like, who's my team? In Slack, I have like 13 people or something like that. And they're all different things. Like there's some editors, there's some project managers, there's like MLS people, there's different things. Videos, social media is probably the biggest. But I remember when I started everything, I was doing everything by myself. I was editing all my videos, recording. Like as soon as I hired out the first editor, I was able to then focus on just like dispersing it and posting it everywhere and post. Like I went from posting 3 times a week to like 100 something times a week on all the platforms. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And same thing happened as soon as I got like the MLS people to make offers for me. I was making 20 offers a day, which takes time. And then I was like, I wonder if someone can do this for me. And I wonder if I can pay commission for it. And then I could, because I just started to ask. And then I was like, I don't have to make these 20 offers anymore. Then I could focus on doing the social media, my main focus, which is not something I'm ready to outsource or I don't want to right now. And so, you start to then focus on the things that matter more. And your time is like, I guess, better spent.
Did you always envision like your life would be like this? Or how did you envision your life before real estate?
I always envisioned I'd make a lot of money. I didn't envision me doing real estate like this, though.
But you always kind of felt it?
Yeah, I always felt like I was shooting for financial freedom. That's why I chose finance. That's why I was good with money, good with numbers. But I never pictured myself to be like mainly investor, mainly content creator. I did not envision that at all. So life happens kind of weird.
Definitely does. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Oh. It's funny because you asked that, and what I want to say is something that I don't preach, is like the be kind. Like I don't talk about that a lot on social media, but I think that's something that I would like to be known as, someone who like influence people or teaches people and shows people that like kindness can go a long way, not only in life, but like business. So that's something that I would like to, but I don't talk about that. I think what people do know me as is the people who help them with real estate. And right now that's what I'm shooting for, to be known as. But long term, I think the goal would be to be known as someone to like share good.
It's awesome, man. If you can turn back the clock and talk to your 18-year-old self again, what's one thing you tell your 18-year-old self?
I don't know if I would have gone to college.
I don't know if I would have gone to college either.
Yeah, I think I would have went straight into the creating content, straight into the real estate game and like learning. Because college is a different experience. Like it's helpful if you want to go after certain professions, lawyer, doctor. But I think if you're going after something, you want to be a business owner, like you do not need college at all.
How many friends do you have that graduated college who are just living, and they're just living. Right. I don't know how better to say that, but they are just living.
They don't use
they don't really use it. And I went to college and it was fun. thank God I have no debt.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to have no debt. But if it was something that I had to pay for, I would definitely, this is a deal breaker for me because I understand the kind of skills that I could acquire that would make me more. So, but I grew up with real estate parents, so I kind of knew that real estate was always going to be an avenue for me to make money, possibly more than school. Yeah. Actually, I started the party rental business, and a professor at Fresno State asked me why was I there, and I was like, oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
That's a great question.
I'm here for fun, but I can definitely relate to the no college thing because I feel like we push college on a bunch of young adults. Then when they get out of college, they're making okay money.
Right.
That they could have been doing.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that time wins over everything. How much time you spend, how long your time horizon is. So if you're going to commit to something like real estate investing and you start after college and you do it for 3 years, the person who didn't go to college and does that for 4 years during you're in college and the 3 years, like they are in a position that is so much different. And like time wins all. Same thing for social media, same thing for everything. Like things take time. Like the first year in real estate when I went flipping on my own, I didn't make anything. I didn't find deals. Like it was like, this is hard. And so, but then over time, like this is like year 3 or something, like it's really picking up. And so now I'm like, okay, like time does win because you make all the mistakes early. And after 4 years or something, you're like, I'm not going to make all those mistakes anymore. So if you do know what you want to do, and you don't need college for it, just maybe consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we conclude our conversation, man, just want to thank you for being here, being present with me, and always being willing to share, your knowledge with me as an aspiring entrepreneur, content creator. I mentioned it a few times, but as much as that's helped my growth as an individual, as an entrepreneur, I'm blessed to have you here sitting across from me, man. So I really appreciate you for, your knowledge and transparency. Definitely a great resource for new people getting started off and people who are already started. Justin's puts himself out there and is definitely a great resource for people in our area. Definitely. Where can the audience find you at or find your content?
Yeah, if you want to find me online, you can go to Instagram or YouTube. The Instagram handle is Justin Yurong, and YouTube is my name, Justin Yurong.
Perfect, man. Well, thank you for being here. Yeah. Once again, you were loved, man. I appreciate you. I'm glad you can make it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
No problem, brother.